You want to do this first part, or do you want me to?
Where are you? Are you
at the dialogue part?
Fuck.
This is the intro piece to the podcast.
This is a podcast called I'm Listening. That part?
Yep.
In this podcast, we are going to take a minute to introduce ourselves and talk to you about who we are, what we're doing, and why the heck we think we should be doing this.
We also want to make sure that... No, what the hell am I trying to say? Why a podcast about listening? We're going to try really, really hard. That's dumb. Why would we try really, really hard?
I'm not going to try hard.
What's going on?
This last fall at deer camp, Drew said, "Hey, Brandt, do you want to do a podcast with me?" And I said, "Okay." Mind you, I don't hunt. And Drew, well, I guess he hunts. And there's a lot of whiskey involved. This is what we came up with.
What's this all about?
If everybody listened a little bit better, I think the world would be a better place.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
Wait a minute. No, I don't want to anymore.
Oh, fuck. From conversations to the natural world to complete silence, so many of us focus on what's next rather than what is happening now. I'm Listening is a podcast that dissects the importance of listening.
I'm Drew Richmond.
And I'm Brandt Christopherson.
And this is I'm Listening, a podcast simply about the skill of listening. All right, Brandt, we're going to get into this. Why a podcast about listening?
Why listening? We value the skill of listening. And this is a platform for us to kind of highlight that skill set, right? Like you were saying before, if we all just listen just a little bit more, things could be better, right?
If you just changed just a little bit, if you just listen to the other person, or maybe listen to your surroundings a little bit more, or listen to music a little bit differently, or find out why your dog doesn't listen to you. You know, maybe there's some different things that you can do just to tweak how you go through your day, and we are going to explore the hell out of that, and I'm excited to do it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It's it takes work. I feel like I'm continually learning. I'm continually humbling myself in the fact of like, why didn't I just listen? Why didn't I hear that the first time around? What was I thinking with this? And now there's things where I pick up on stuff. I'm like, oh, they're trying to tell me this right now. And there's these little skills and techniques that we pick up along the way, and I'm still learning them to make myself a better listener.
Great point. This idea of, being an expert listener, that's not us. And we're not saying that. I think it's as you just said, the idea of this growth mindset, that this is something that we're very tuned into and want to continue to be tuned into and get better at it every day. That challenge to each other and sitting down and having these conversations, it's this growth that we're going to continue to go through so that we can become better listeners and hopefully have a little bit of influence on others as they listen to this and build their skill sets too.
Plus, this is kind of our jam, right? This is our thing. This is not just listening, but people skills. Working with people, developing people. That's what we do for our work, for our job, for our life. So it's fun to be able to kind of explore a passion that way as well. I know this started when you and I first met in 2003?
Yeah, over 20 years ago.
We were working in youth development, in camping. And for me, it wasn't so much about just camping. It was about development. I was there because I could help develop youth. I could help develop staff. Any people that came through our program was about growth and development. I moved on from that job to follow that same path. What can I do to help individuals grow, teams grow? And a lot of those go back into skills in listening and skills with connecting other people. So it's been very much a through line for me my whole career.
What started as a passion and working with kids and working with other staff at a relatively young age for me always revolved around listening. You're able to get to the heart of the situation. You're able to really connect not only with the kids, but the staff. And the environment that we were in, there were hundreds of kids. There were hundreds of staff. hundreds of situations every single day that we needed to work through, not only with your colleagues, but also with parents. In that field, you're making phone calls and you're talking with parents, and sometimes they're frustrated. Sometimes it's about good news, but it really always boiled down to, if you were good at this, it was because you were a good listener. You could show that empathy. You could show that sympathy. You could prove to them that you were listening to their concerns, whatever those things were across the board. It was a huge component to what we did for a living for multiple years. I took that, continued in the nonprofit industry, and every place I went to, tried to instill some of that in the places that I worked. And it came back to me with really, really positive feedback. People enjoyed it. It was different. I noticed that, the places that I entered into, all of a sudden, if you had this learning environment that supported each other and showed, leadership development and listening skills and those types of things, people really enjoyed it. And, you make these personal connections with your coworkers, you work long hours, it's tough jobs, all these different things that you needed to do, but you did it together. And it was really, really refreshing and people enjoyed it. What I got out of all of that, which is why I started my own business of executive coaching and consulting, is helping people achieve their goals. And part of that is when you listen and when you can help people and when you give some advice if that's what they're looking for, or point them in a different direction if that's what they're looking for, whatever those goals are that they have, it's all about listening. And I found that through all of my career, when people were achieving their goals, I was achieving mine, and that was a huge piece to it.
Yeah, I think it's spot on. It is about making that human connection, right? In really just taking that time and focus with that other person to do that. It's very much a gift, right? To be able to give that attention to someone. I remember sitting down with you years ago, and you would close your door, sit down, turn away from your computer, you'd have your pen and your paper out, and you'd be like, all right, what are we talking about? Your focus was on the conversation. It wasn't on 500 other things going on. It was, this is what we're doing right now. I'm sure that's not the first time you've been told that, right? That you have a skill set in listening.
Yeah, and it's always one of the most proud moments I have when people bring stories like that up, or they tell you that you're a good listener, or they appreciate that you took the time to sit down to listen to them. That's really something that strikes a chord with me. I really get a lot out of that. And Brandt, as you went through your career with us working together, you always show a side of empathy and sympathy with people, and you can hear it in your voice. You can see it in the work that you do. You want to continue to work with people. You want to be able to interact with humans, give that listening component, and be able to give back to them what what they need and what they're looking for. And I think that's why the two of us are sitting down and talking about this, because we find listening to be extremely valuable, and so much so that we want to put time, effort, and energy into it, and then share it with the world.
Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, it's I don't get a chance to geek out a lot on this topic, so it's fun to kind of go into those deep dives with someone to explore these different regions of listening and connection.
We want to have a conversation with more than just me and Brandt, and we're going to bring in some pretty amazing guests over the course of this podcast. All that really comes down to one thing, and that's what you, the listener, what are you going to get out of this? Is there a skill set? Is there something that you can take away from these podcasts and apply it in your own life?
I think there's lessons in just some of the topics we picked out to talk about. Our next episode, we're talking about customer service. Getting into that, my takeaway and learning from that was, wow, there's two sides of this conversation. What am I listening for? What am I doing in responding? How do I respond? And I can use that in that customer service situation, or I can use it in real life. There's something human about that desire and want to connect, to know what's going on and to understand. And there's a lot to unpack in why we do that and what we can do with it.
Yeah. And I, look into that retrospective aspect of it all. The calming and relaxing pieces of listening to are something that we want to explore. We're going to get into the music side of things. We're going to get into the nature side of things. What are some of those things that when you tune into listening and you can really hone in on that skill, that it kind of calms you because of the art of listening? Just other topics and other things that we're going to be able to get into that maybe, it's not necessarily a skill set or something that you're going to ponder for a while, but maybe it's just something that can help you relax.
Yeah, it's there's a recognition and appreciation of listening that comes with that.
One of our goals with this podcast is to bring a certain level of open-mindedness, to bring a heightened sense of awareness, just to draw that, if after you listen to an episode, maybe it does change your mind, or at least opens up your mind, and that would be one of our goals too. And I think with some of that, our goal, Brandt, is to bring some of that to the forefront. And if it makes just a little bit of a change in some people's day, that would be a huge success for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited. This will be a lot of fun. Yeah, I can't wait for the coming episodes. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
This podcast is created and produced by Drew Richmond and Brandt Christopherson, edited by me, and music by Drew.
That's me. In this description of the podcast, you'll find more information about this topic and to see any sources that we utilized during this podcast. So be sure to check that out if you are interested. This is going to be a hell of a journey. I'm excited for it.
Yes.
And if we listen closely, maybe we'll learn something.
I think you might learn something, Drew. I don't know about me, but you're going to learn something.
I bet you I do. I bet you I do.